My guest at this time is a former ROH Tag Team Champion and two-time WWE 24/7 Champion. It's Mike Bennett. Mike, thank you very much for taking the time to chat with me here today.
No, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Anytime I can talk to another adult that's not 2 years old, it's quite nice.
You know, you say that, but I've got my action figures back here. You can see my Frisbees and stuff. I'm 35, but am I really?
You know, I mean, you have the appearance of an adult, so I think that helps.
I look, by the way, and I'm sure this is gibberish to everybody else, but we're only like 3 months apart. I'm like actually 3 months older than you. I'm February 85. You're May, I think.
So. Yes. Yep. May 16th, 85.
What a year, man. 85.
I feel old.
Half our life pre 9/11, half our life after 9/11. Now we're living through a pandemic. It's been a wild ride, my friend.
God, I thought 9/11 was enough. I thought that was the big event for like our lifetime, but now apparently we need a pandemic. I wasn't prepared for this. I didn't want this. I'm okay without it. So maybe we can just jump ahead to when this is over.
Yeah. All right. Well, we won't go too down the dark rabbit hole here. We'll try to focus on some lighter stuff here today, Mike. Well, I'm very excited. I do commentary for Warrior Wrestling, and I reached out to Principal Steve, the great promoter for Warrior. And I'm very excited to get to call some of your action this weekend, just this Saturday night, Mike. You're going to be taking on New Japan Pro Wrestling's Cheeseburger. A very interesting matchup that I'm excited to see. What do you think fans can expect between you and Cheeseburger?
I'm excited because the last time we wrestled, I think, was probably 5 years ago, maybe even longer, when I was in Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I feel like we're just two totally different wrestlers now. At that point, I was wrestling a different way in the sense that I was always wrestling to try to get noticed or to get my name out there or to, how it is, get seen by the right people. And Cheeseburger was so new to the industry. So I think like we probably held back more than we probably would now.
Sure.
And I think that's what I'm excited about is I have this new mentality on wrestling where I'm wrestling for myself. I'm wrestling to have fun. I'm wrestling to what I think I want to do, as opposed to wrestling to try to do what I think everyone else wants to see, or wrestle because this is what they tell you the higher ups want you to do. I just want to wrestle to have fun. I want to wrestle and see if it's good and try new things. And I think it's going to be interesting because, like I said, Cheeseburger's an entirely different. He's an experienced professional wrestler now.
Yeah.
And so to me, I think it's going to be fun. I'm interested to see what we can both bring to the table.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, with your time in Ring of Honor, you, ROH and New Japan were doing co-promoted shows at that time, and you got to do some action with them then. What was it like getting to work with the New Japan crew? I mean, how do you keep up with that product at all right now?
Yeah, New Japan is probably one of my favorite promotions to watch. It's I don't talk about this a lot, but it's very bittersweet, my time in New Japan, because I loved it. I look back fondly on everything that we did, me and Taven and Maria and stuff with the Bullet Club. But I also think personally I held back. And I think I held back because one, I had a painkiller addiction. And two, I wasn't in the right state of mind. I'm not the type of person I am now. And that's very difficult for me to explain to people, like how I feel now as opposed to back then. There's a certain way that I was carrying myself back then, or a certain way that I wrestled. And it's kind of like how I was talking about my match with Cheeseburger, in the sense that you wrestle kind of with chains on when you want to be noticed by a certain company. And for me, like in the wrestling industry, it was always WWE or bust for the longest time. It was, that's where I want to go. That's what you have to do. And this is what they're looking for, and blah, 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 and all that crap. And so now that I'm not wrestling to get noticed, I look back on New Japan and I think, what if I had this mindset back then?
Yeah.
What if I wasn't trying to impress the right people, or not step on any toes, or walk on eggshells and all that stuff? And so I'm excited with what I can do now. And so my hope is that I can go back there with this mentality that I have now, and with this mindset that I have now of just like wrestle for yourself, go all out, do everything you want to do, and not worry what anyone else thinks about it. And so I look back on it fondly. But I'm also a little bittersweet that I hope I get the opportunity to go back and wrestle the way I want to wrestle.
Man, you touched on a couple things that I definitely wanted to get your opinion on. First of all, do you want that second bite of the apple? You know, you're a very interesting character, you know, of the releases that came here, you know, back in April that people I think would mark as like an ROH guy from the,
Right.
from the round of releases. I mean, is that New Japan and ROH still have a working relationship? I mean, that is that a fold that you'd like to see yourself back in?
Yeah, it's, I mean, to me, it was always like, I don't know. I always considered myself an ROH guy, even after I left and went to, because I was there for almost, I think I was there for 5 years, almost six. Like I was there for a while.
Yeah.
And, uh, and so when I went to Impact, it was always like, okay, I was going there, but I was leaving my home, which was Ring of Honor. And then when I went to WWE, I always felt like an ROH guy. And
Yeah.
in my head, it was like, if you ever leave here, it's probably going to be Ring of Honor. Try to go back there because that's where your buddies are. That's where you had fun. Like that's where they took care of you. Like I have a good relationship with Joe Koff still. Like I still like Joe emails me every now and then. He emailed me every time we had our two kids, and I would email him just to be like, hey, I saw this and I love what you guys are doing. So I kept a good relationship with him. I kept a good relationship with Delirious, who is, the booker over there. And obviously Taven's my best friend. So I've stayed in touch with him for whatever. He'd be the guy that I'd text and I'd be like, can you believe WWE's making me do this? And he'd be like, you got to be kidding. Like he was the guy that I would reach out to. So Ring of Honor is always going to be my home. I don't know if I'll end up there now, but I mean, I'm looking to go wherever. That's my goal right now. I just want to wrestle wherever I can. And if that means Ring of Honor and there's an opportunity there, then hell yeah. If there's an opportunity at New Japan, hell yeah. AEW. And like, I just want to go and wrestle. And I'm trying to prove myself. Someone asked me on Twitter there the other day, they were like, how come you haven't signed with a company yet?
Yeah.
And I very honestly said, because I feel like I need to earn it. I didn't really do anything the last 3 years. I was kind of living in obscurity on 205 and random shots here at, on Raw and doing weird angles on Raw and stuff on SmackDown. But I wasn't like, I'm very self-aware in the sense that I know when I got released, I had an uphill battle because I spent the last 3 years with my name kind of being devalued at WWE. So now it's like, I wasn't in the same boat as like Rusev was, where he had a good run at WWE. I
Yeah.
had a bad run at WWE. And so what I'm banking on is that people remember me pre-WWE and the stuff that I did then. So I kind of have to spend the next year or so refreshing people of like, no, this is what I'm capable of doing. This is what I can do. So if your company wants someone like me, let me show you what I can do. And so that's kind of how I've been approaching everything.
Well, but I mean, to counter that, Mike, that's not entirely your fault. I mean, you can only play the role that you're given, right? And, it's not on you to decide the creative, especially in a corporate environment like WWE. I guess I'll ask something maybe a little off the beaten path that come to mind. This retribution angle on Monday, I think everybody universally has said this thing kind of shit the bed. This is NXT talent repackaged, weird names, weird promos. Do you feel for them when you see something like that happen? Are you like, say something, guys? Maybe try to stop what's happening right now.
Yeah, I do because first of all, everyone that's in Retribution is fantastic. Like they're unbelievable talents. And I know Dijak from the Northeast and Mia Yim I worked with over at in Impact. And I think the world of her, and Shane Thorne, I just think is the best. But it's like, I don't know what else to say when I see the fact that like they have this cool idea of these group of people that are sick of the way the company's working, but then they shoot themselves in the foot. They don't take little pieces and think them through. They don't think the fact that these guys want to destroy WWE, but we're going to give them a contract and sign them. Like that doesn't just, even if you erase the fact that I have a wrestling mind and
Right.
just look at it from a simple perspective of just a normal person watching this. Like if I was trying to destroy the NFL, Roger Goodell is not going to give me a contract or Robert Kraft is not going to sign me to the Patriots because I'm trying to destroy the NFL.
Right.
So, like, I understand, but they back themselves into corners, and I hope they can find their way out of it. But they have an uphill battle with those names. Now, names don't mean crap. They don't. I get it. People, if you're talented enough, you can overcome the name, but it's incredibly difficult. It's already an uphill battle. And on top of that, they're dealing with bad booking decisions on top of bad names. So it's tough. And like, this isn't me crapping on WWE. This is just, it's tough. Like it's difficult. And I love the fact that Shane Thorne is Slapjack, because I'm going to give him so much crap next time I see him and just keep calling him Slapjack. But I can do that because I took the name Mike Kanellis, so he can throw it right back in my face.
If you're going to have a Slapjack, you got to bring back Stevie Ray, to manage the unit. It's a real missed opportunity, in my opinion.
See, I think Jeff Jarrett when I think of Slapjack because of his guitar. So, I mean, I know it's a different word, but that was the first ththing that popped in my head.
I think Stevie Ray actually had the Slapjack, though. I think he was knocking people in the back of the head with that thing back in the day.
No, I think so.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, on the note of NXT, well, Bert, take a step back here before I get back to my questions here. Can you take everybody just a little inside what it's like for you when you're getting handed bad creative? What is the process like of trying to express that to them and try to alter what's going on? Like, how does that work?
So it's usually it usually trickles down in the sense that everyone knows that's being passed the information of what you're doing, that it's bad. So it starts at the top. So it starts with Boss Man, and he makes the call. And then it gets passed to the writers, who then pass it to the agents, who then pass it to the wrestlers, or sometimes the writers go right to the wrestlers or whatever. But instantly when it's bad, because the writers go, we tried to fix this, but this is what he really wants. Or the agents go, let me go talk to him. Then the agents come back and they go, nope, he's dead set on this. So it's usually like a trickle down of, yep, we know it's crap, but we're giving it to this guy. Yep, we know. And then you get it, and it's basically everyone's just like, sorry, make the most of it. And so then you take it, and then you as a performer try to go, I mean, for me, when we were doing that storyline, I just looked at it. I was like, all right, I know this isn't really good, but if I can make something out of this, if I can make this entertaining, I was up for the challenge. And a lot of the guys and girls there are up for the challenge, but they also wish, they're like, why are we doing this? We're shooting ourselves in the foot. Like, we could make this good, but instead we have to try to figure out how to make it good when we know it's bad, as opposed to just giving us something good that we can make great. They give you something bad and they're like, try to make something good out of this, which is just an ass backwards way to try to do things. And so there's so much pride in the talent that I think they try to make the most of it. But there's certain times where, I mean, when we were doing that, when we did that stuff where like Ricochet beat me in a matter of seconds and then Rusev came out, like, we knew instantly. I was like, this is terrible. And this is just going to bury me. And we basically said in the production meeting, we were like, I will do this as long as this isn't the end of it. And of course, that was the end of it. But when that, like, and that was what eventually led to me being like, all right, I'm ready to go, because there's no coming back from what you guys just did to me. But yeah, you try to make the most of it. You try to compromise with them. But at the end of the day, if the boss says that's it, that's it. And you just go, all right, what am I going to do? And some guys can just keep riding the train and be like, this is fine. And other guys like myself, I had enough. And I was like, this isn't fun for me anymore. And I don't want to do it.
And it does, this is a similar story I think we've heard from several talents, is, how it all kind of stems up to Vince and then back down. A lot of people don't anticipate Vince going anywhere anytime soon. But from a talent's perspective, is there somebody that you all go to that you trust, that if like that person assumed that role and Vince just decided to retire or whatever may happen, you think could really change the direction? Does a name come to mind for you as someone to be capable of doing that?
I mean, I liked when my short stint at doing NXT live events and stuff, and Triple H is like, he feels like he is headed in the right direction. He feels like he understands the talent. He feels like with Vince, it feels like he has no idea what we've done before. He has no idea what anyone's done outside of WWE. With Triple H, I always felt like he knew exactly what we were capable of because he watched us. he's seen the stuff that guys had done in Ring of Honor or Impact or New Japan or Noah or wherever. So he knows what guys are capable of. So I think if he, and again, I don't know because I didn't work under him that long to really get like a grasp, but besides him, there's no one else because they all just report to Vince. So everyone just does what they think Vince wants to see. And that is the core issue. No one's writing television or booking the TV because they think it's going to be good. They book it to save their job. So, for example, writers get a bad rap all the time as like, oh, blame the writers because they don't get wrestling. No, the writers get it, but they're also trying to keep their job. So if they're constantly writing stuff that I think is good or you think is good, but Vince is rejecting it, they're going to get fired because Vince is going to be like, oh, you're just bringing me stuff that I don't like. I don't like it all. So what ends up happening is they write based on what they think Vince will accept, based on what they know Vince likes. So if Vince in that week is really big into like poop humor, they're going to be like, let's book a lot of poop humor jokes because we know that'll get on television and we'll have job security. And that's how it works. Again, it is what it is. You go there, you learn that that's how it works, and you either accept it or you don't. I couldn't accept it because I thought it sucked.
Yeah, and to even take a step back from that, talking about your short time in NXT doing the live events, you were one of the first talents to kind of get fast-tracked, or one of the few talents, I should say, to be fast-tracked right to the main roster without having to go through NXT. Was there ever any talk of you joining the NXT brand and starting off there before going to the roster, or no?
Yeah, no. So it was originally, that's where I was supposed to go. But when we, in all fairness, I'll be brutally honest, they reached out to me and they offered me way less money than Impact was offering me at that time. So I was like, for my family, I can't take less money and move. I had to move to Florida. And I was like, Impact was telling me I could stay where I was and they would pay me more. I was like, it logically didn't make sense to me. And so when I told them no, I just couldn't take that. They then called me back and they said, well, we can pay you what we pay the main roster guys, but then you got to go to the main roster. And I said, that's fine. I was like, I'll still go to NXT. I was like, I just can't. It didn't logically from a business standpoint make sense to me. So it was talked about NXT, but then instantly it was like, well, if we're paying you what we pay the main roster guys, we just have to put you on the main roster. I mean, obviously at that time, NXT wasn't on USA and wasn't kind of viewed in the way it is now. But I would have definitely gone to NXT. Actually, in retrospect, I would have preferred to go to NXT. Just because I liked dealing with Triple H so much more. Triple H, like I always felt like I could talk to Triple H man to man. I always felt like when I talked to Vince, he just told me what I wanted to hear so I would get out of his office. Like I felt like with Triple H, I could be brutally honest and I would say things to him and I felt like I could be like, this is why I'm upset. Let me tell you, talk to me like a man. Let's see what we can do from there. And I always appreciated that relationship. With Vince, it was just like, I felt like he was like, all right, Mike Kanellis, what are you doing in my office? Yeah, you're good. You're a good hand. Now scram, hit the bricks. So I would have preferred to go do NXT. But there's also this part of me as a wrestler that's like, not many guys got to skip NXT. So I kind of hold it with a badge of honor where I'm like, yeah, maybe it was because of my wife, but screw it. I'll still use it to my advantage.
Sure. Well, and you infamously publicly, got to the point where you asked for your release from the company. What was their reaction to that move that you made there?
They were not happy. But I had known that it would piss them off, and that was the point because I was mad. Because I had gone to them constantly. And this is what I think a lot of like wrestling fans don't understand is that like me asking for my release was just a last desperation effort. I had done all I could do behind the scenes. I had talked to Vince. I had talked to head of talent relations. I had asked for my release privately backstage. Twice I had asked for it backstage privately, to which I was denied. My wife never asked for her release, which drives me nuts. My wife was fine staying there. She was like, I'm good. I'm ready to just, like I'll do what they want me to do. Like she was good. And so like, it was always just me. I wanted to be done. And I had discussions with her. I was like, if I asked for my release, are you okay with that? And she was okay. And so like, this was a boiling point of building up to the point where I had reached out to them. And then the day I asked for my release, I had finally got to the point where I had texted head of talent relations. This was the third time I asked for my release. And I think something came up that really was like, I was like, all right, I'm done. And I said, look, I'm done. I don't want to work here anymore. I said, I don't want to discuss this because I've talked to you twice about it. You guys have denied it to me. I said, I don't want to be here anymore. I'm not enjoying it. I said, let me go. Let me go for 2 years. Maybe I can come back. I said, I will do everything you like. I was trying to be very professional about it. And then they ignored me. They ignored me all day. They didn't respond to my text. They didn't say, hey, let me call you. They said nothing to me. They ignored me for almost 8 hours. And then finally I went, that's not right. That's just not right from like your talent relations. Your job is to talk to the talent. And they ignored me all day. So finally I said, all right, I'm going to put it publicly because that will get their attention. And so I did. And was it the right way to go? I don't know. But I had to take a stand for myself, and that got their attention. And I said, okay, now finally you're paying attention to me because I did it the right way. I was the company guy. I did everything they asked me to do, and they still ignored me and they treated me like that. And eventually you get to the point where you're like, well, you can keep kicking dirt on me or I'm going to stand up and fight for myself. And as a man and as a dad and as a husband, I was like, I'm not going to sit there and let you just berate me and not treat me with respect. And so that was kind of the final straw where I was like, because I know when you say stuff like that, it doesn't hold the company in a good light. And talent relations called me and they said, Vince is pissed. And I said, my reaction was good. That was my thought. I went, good. Maybe he'll listen to me now. But it is what it is. And like, again, I did it. Things happen. I hold no ill will. It needed to be done. I needed to be free. I needed to go do what I wanted. So
real quick, an inside baseball question here. And this is maybe a dumb question, but like as a WWE wrestler, can you just quit or is that not allowed? Is contractually you cannot just let yourself out of your contract?
No, you can ask and which is, you should be able to as independent contractors.
They can terminate at any time.
Anytime.
But you, the performer, do not have that same right, that basic right to terminate at any time, forgo the 90 days, and just walk away. You do not have that right.
No, they have to approve it. They have to say, yes, we're letting you out of your contract, which is so ass backwards to me and doesn't make sense. And like, it was one thing that really bothered me when we got released in April, because people were coming at me because in one of the first interviews I did, I was like, it kind of sucks to be released in the middle of a pandemic. And people were like, well, you asked for it, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I asked for it back in October when I had places to go and there were companies to work for.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could work places. And I was like, and they told me no. And then they released me when I couldn't go work other places. And what bothered me is I was like, so you guys are okay that they can hold me to a contract then, but now that I want so their argument was always, well, you asked for your release. And I said, yeah, but you're not mad at WWE for not releasing me when I asked for it, but you're okay that they release me when I can't go and find a place to work. Like, it just really bothered me that I was like, your anger is aimed in the wrong direction here. Like, your anger is aimed at the little people when you should be mad at the major corporation that is basically saying, oh, all these guys that we fired can't go and work somewhere and we don't give a crap about it. Not only that, but we're going to fire a woman who's 2 months into her maternity leave. And people are just like, well, your husband asked for his release, so you deserve to be released too. Like, I always was like, your anger is aimed in the wrong direction. And that always bothered me that they could release me whenever they wanted. But I asked for my release 3 different times and they could just say, nope, sorry. And everyone's just okay with it. I'm like, that doesn't seem right to me, especially if we're independent contractors.
100%. And I know I've taken a little over time here and I don't want to beat a dead horse here or anything, but like, we broke the story about the third-party edict that WWE put out, and that was after your release. And then Andrew Yang got involved in the conversation, and I got to talk with Andrew Yang here about 2 weeks ago about his plans to approach the National Labor Board Association or whatever about trying to get pro wrestlers reclassified as employees. Because if you look at Renee Young, she was an employee. She was unhappy. She had seen that all she could do there was done. And she gave him 2 weeks, and she was allowed to walk. Do you think that it is time for WWE and even AEW or these major national television promotions to reclassify their performers as employees instead of independent contractors?
So I think it's just how you go about your business. So if you want guys to be independent contractors, that's fine, but treat them as such. Do not put restrictions on them. Do not put the same restrictions on them as you would put employees, because that doesn't make sense to me. If you're an independent contractor, you're an independent contractor. You can go and make money elsewhere, regardless of what industry that's in. So I think if you want to, I have no problem if companies want to dictate and tell guys, be here at this time, this is what you're doing, this is how you're doing it, and we don't want you making money anywhere else. Fine. But label them as such, which is an employee. If you want the tax breaks or whatever that comes with independent contractors, that's fine, but treat them as such. Don't tell them that they have to do this, this, and this, and they can't go make money elsewhere. And I think that's just the easiest way to go about it. And because a lot of wrestling companies need to label guys as independent contractors because they're trying to survive. And I understand that. And a lot of us get into the industry knowing that. But when it comes to WWE, when you have that much money and you have that much control over guys, it's not going to hurt you to give them health insurance. It's not going to hurt you to give them benefits. It's not going to hurt you to classify them as employees. And it's like Andrew Yang said, it comes down to greed. That's really what it comes down to. At the end of the day, it's all about greed when it comes to WWE, which is sad because you have guys and girls there that would literally do anything for that company because they love wrestling so much, and it just gets exploited. And it exploited for one person making more billions. Like, how many billions can you have? These guys are trying to feed their families, and these guys want to be set for the rest of their life. Meanwhile, someone's trying to make another $1 billion because $2 billion isn't enough for the rest. At a certain point, we need to look at these people and say a little human decency comes into play here. It's okay when guys are breaking their backs for you to treat them like humans. I think that's not too much to ask.
I think a lot of fans would agree with you, Mike. I think we know Andrew Yang agrees.
I love Andrew Yang. He's the best.
Yeah. Well, Mike, I want to thank you so much for taking the time. Again, this Saturday night, it goes down. You, Cheeseburger, Chicago Heights, Illinois, Warrior Wrestling. Is there anything else you want to leave everybody with here today? Anything you want to plug, promote, put over here?
No, I want to shout out to my wife because that woman is going back to school. She's getting her master's right now. She has a second business. She's the mom of my children. And that woman works her ass off. And I'm just I'm inspired by her every day. And I wish people understood just how incredible of a human she is. Because she gets a bad rap a lot of the times because she's honest and she speaks her mind. But that woman is a warrior, and no pun intended with Warrior Wrestling coming up. But I'm just watching her run around the house right now because she's going away for 4 days for another business trip that she's doing. And I just admire her, and I wish more people would understand how incredible of a person she is.